thank you all for coming. I am really excited to be able to talk to Adri about everything that you've got going on. Adri, this is really cool to have you here, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and hi everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So that everyone can be on the same page and we can know what exactly we're doing here today. Maybe you could give us a bit of background on that and also just tell us, like, how did you get into tech?
Sure. So I remember when I was finishing my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. That was in Barcelona. By that time, electrical engineering was kind of like a popular and at the same time challenging bachelor's to complete. The job offer demand was quite high by the time that I started that bachelor's. But then I realized by the time that I was over with it, I realized that what I have been studying wasn't like the domain was like more attractive. That actually was computer science, right? And actually, one of the key things and things that I'm really satisfied and really happy to have had there is the research groups and the people that belong
Okay.
to that community.
All right.
And yeah, from those groups, I think that was my access to the not only to the technology field but also to the AI and machine learning field. And I'll tell you guys the story. This is kind of my crash on ML. And after that, I'll give you some time, Demetrius, to think about your love story for ML. But in summary, there is this project. It's called the ImagiNet project. Some of you might have heard about this project, but basically, a research group at Stanford collected like 14 million of images hand annotated, covering more than 20,000 categories. And from that data set, they started like the visual recognition challenge. The objective of that challenge was just to achieve like the highest accuracy on the visual classification task of 1,000 categories. Those teams were offered like a batch data set of around 1.2 million training images, and at the end, the highest that you could get, the highest that you would rank on this challenge, right? And this was a story that basically by 2000 before 2012, most participants were using like traditional computer vision methods like feature engineering and applying some classification like algorithms with really shallow structures.
Mhm.
And the important aspect of this challenge is that of around 2012, they some of the teams started like using deep learning, right? Deep learning came into play, and the first architecture that it was used was AlexNet. Uh, this architecture, what it attracted me like a lot, but by the time that I was reading this, and it's because they improved by around 10% the results that traditional methods were offering, right? Um, that was obviously thanks to GPUs and these convolutional neural networks. But that was kind of my first impression of AI. Wow, we can really dig into these technologies, and we can actually improve, right, the state of the art by quite a lot. And by the end of the, I think it was around 2016, we reached to a point that these CNN architectures were even like improving they were doing better than the human performance level, right? And that's actually like the first trigger that that I thought, wow, this is actually going to change like the way that we see deep learning, right? Interacting with our products and technologies that we use. How about if we move this domain? This was, as I was saying, just 1,000 categories from like regular daily objects like cars, cats, animals, right? But then I started thinking, wow, why don't we move this concept to other domains, right? For example, the healthcare domain. And that was actually my first kind of uh, interaction with these technologies. I remember that by the end of this bachelor's, I had to complete like a thesis uh, to close, like to end my bachelor's. And I basically took this idea of ImageNet, but I was trying to solve other tasks, or like for personal reasons, I had some motivations to relationship with dermatology, and I thought, okay, let's try to collect images of skin lesions, and let's try to replicate what these guys have been doing with the ImageNet challenge, but let's do it now with skin lesions, right? And so I had few options to join some research groups. I guess we can differentiate between two types of research groups. Mostly, the first one is the fundamental research that they try to expand like technology from, for example, visual classification tasks, object detection, and segmentation. So trying to improve the technology that other people could use. And then the second type of researchers are like applied researchers, right? Guys that take the technology that the first group of researchers have been developing, and they try to apply it so we can have like some impact on society, right? These two groups, they have to live together. So one really needs the other to progress, right? And this was actually the path that I took to use some existing technologies, especially the convolutional neural networks, and I tried to use this to build like a system that was able to classify skin lesions taken, for example, with your smartphone, and be able to have like this first assessment of what that skin lesion could be, right? And then the second motivation was, okay, I've seen like this ImageNet challenge. I've seen that it's feasible to collect a huge number of images, and other reasons to why I jumped into this was the frameworks that were available by that time. It was around 2015. So Keras, for example, TensorFlow were available, and GPUs were also like a thing by the time.
And then you went in, you tried to put it out and get it into production?
Exactly. The first kind of draft was just like a research publication that I did with some folks at the Florida Atlantic University, and it became kind of like a pretty attractive business idea as well. And that's how I was reached out by a startup called Triage from Toronto in Canada. And basically, these guys wanted to uh, bring all these deep learning technologies to healthcare. And what it seems to be like the low-hanging fruit for medical imaging was this kind of problems, right? So at the end, answering your question, yes, we wanted to bring it to this research idea into production by offering this service in a way that users were able to download the app and just snap a picture, and we were able to predict like in real time uh, what that lesion could be, right?
Then the fun part started, and you realized what
Yeah,
that takes.
exactly. And then I spent like a couple of years playing with building machine learning frameworks on the top of open source, like ones like Keras and TensorFlow. And then I got really interested on building like a platform, right? And that's when I started like reading more about MLOps. It was a pretty new thing by that time, but my objective was we were like different teams in this startup. We had like data scientists, data engineers. We had like a really big group of data management folks, and obviously like the front end and back end guys. And it was pretty hard to communicate between each other. So I thought, why don't we build like a platform that we can all like understand, and we can use it like a translation machine between all. So it doesn't matter what's your knowledge about ML, but you can still like deploy some models and train those models, right?
So you wanted to create some kind of centralized platform, and you're saying that there was a lot of this communication breakdown. Can you go a little bit deeper into that? Like, what was breaking down in the communication part? Was it the database engineers didn't understand what machine learning was, or was it that the data scientists couldn't explain themselves properly?
Yeah, I would start saying, for example, the conflict between what programming languages each of the teams were able to use. For example, we had like a lot of friction between requests from the data science team to the data engineering team, and mostly because they were using like Ruby on Rails, and data scientists were only using like Python, for example. So every time that we had to deploy like a new model, data scientists are the ones responsible for like developing and pulling all the new data that the service was obtaining, and training a new model, optimizing this model, and then deploying it, right? So we had always to ask for those data engineers to deploy it for us.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I was thinking, why don't we each exchange like communication through like a configuration file, for example, right? That it's almost like code free, but still we can use it to communicate like each other. So that was kind of the objective with this machine learning platform that we worked on at this startup.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's something that we hear so much, like the data scientists just having to throw it over the fence. And you have, is it the DevOps team that has to then go and take care of it? And do they even know how to take care of it?
Exactly.
So then maybe we can jump into just like how from there you decided you wanted to go into what you've now done and like help create a knowledge base and a course to have everyone else understand. And for those of maybe it's probably a good idea for you to break down what exactly it is that you're doing with Productionize ML and what you hope to achieve with it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So just taking the idea of what I was explaining with this machine learning platform, the idea of letting everyone in your team to understand what's the final goal, and most of the times this final goal is to deploy your services or bring your research idea, in this case, into production, right? And I thought that the best, or like the low hanging fruit, was to do it through educational resources, right? So everyone, no matter in which team you belong to, you're able to understand what are the other teams' kind of needs are, right? And especially in this field that it's quite like there is like a lot of innovation going on. I thought that what I had to build was like a educational tool that was offering this kind of knowledge to each of the teams. So the name of this tool is ProductizeML, and the objective overall is to enable the creation of new AI products. We target like either if you're part of a team or you're an individual contributor, we try to bridge this gap between, okay, I think I know what are the research ideas that I want to transform and turn it into a product, but I don't really know where to start, right? So ProductizeML wants to shorten the time from this is the idea that I want to build, and I how I want to deploy this, and wrap it up, do like a packaging of the
Mhm.
product. And as I was saying, this is the easiest way that I thought that we could do this is through educational resources to keep everyone in your team aligned and improve in some way the cross functionality of the team.
Yeah, and I'll throw in the chat right now for anyone who wants to like jump ahead and look at what it is that you've created, because I'm blown away. You know that I love it. That's why I got you on here. But
Thank
I
you.
think it's really important, this idea of the different stakeholders that you talk about and the translation that needs to be done, because so many times people come on here and they talk about how the MLOps problem is an organizational problem. And part of that is because people don't understand each other, or they don't have the right access to this or that, or they can't say what it is that they need to be done in a way that the other person understands, the other teammate that is doing things. And I think there's parts of that that are really getting better as this becomes more mainstream, right? But what you're doing is like a huge service to all of the rest of us, because like you said, you're getting everyone on the same page so that at least you can tell your teammates, or you can tell the team, at the very least, just go through and do this quick course, and you'll have an understanding of what I'm looking for. I will understand what you're looking for. We can speak the same language, and you will know what I mean when I talk about this or that. So I really appreciate that you did this. I thought it was incredible when I saw it, and the idea of the stakeholders is huge, and who needs what from machine learning, right? Like a machine learning piece to each person is a different thing.
Yeah, correct. In in that way, I try to like to break down each of the lectures with targeting like different teams and different audiences, right? So as you were saying, the first lecture, for example, like the machine learning lecture, we try to present some of the main algorithms like for supervised and supervised learning. So, and this lecture is mainly focused for like product managers that might not be like in a full understanding of what these technologies do and require in terms of data. And even for data management teams too, right? Why do we need all these huge number of data sets, right? What is behind those deep convolutional neural networks? Why do we need to represent or to cover all the classes such a we don't suffer from class unbalancing, right? And also for marketing or business development guys, why is it taking like so long to train a deep convolutional neural network? Things like that. And other sections that just come to my mind, for example, the last one, for example, it's called productize it, right? This is especially useful for folks like me in the past, who were purely focused on the engineering side of the solution that we were building. And this lecture resonates a lot along the lines of what is important, or what is the product that I'm building, what are the business objectives that I have. Because at the end, I believe that we should build our technical solutions considering that. And that means defining or answering some of the questions, such as what is the benefit that I'm taking from automating this process or making these predictions more accurate? Should I be caring a lot about the accuracy of the model, or, for example, the coverage of classes? Because I don't know, certain customers or clients might care more about the coverage of classes that, for example, your classifier can have, versus a really high performance. And also like defining what's the MVP that you want to build. This is something that engineers might lack of understanding. Sometimes we sometimes care too much about the accuracy, for example, of this product, and sometimes we lack of this business side, right?
Yeah, and I see there's a great meme that Ron just put in the chat about basically it's like um, for everyone that already clicked on it, it's like work fine in dev, it's an ops problem now, and you see the building blowing up in the background. I wanted to ask a few more questions before we maybe jump into the actual the course and your brainchild. And
Sure.
I just think it's fascinating that you took a different approach to things, because right now we're seeing a ton of companies that are coming out, right? That are trying to help standardize the ML workflow, or they're trying to help be the tool for X, Y, or Z. And a lot of these companies we've had on here, they're in the community, they're great. But your idea of a platform was different. You said, well, let's make it educational instead of a tool. And why exactly did you go about that? Just because it was going to be an easier endeavor? I'm sure it didn't end up being that easy. So what was it that made you think education here is probably going to be more powerful than creating some tool that does all of this for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is this Chinese proverb that says, "Give a man a fish and you feed him like for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him like for a lifetime." So this is actually the goal that I had with ProductizeML. Not to build like solutions for for a specific customer or a specific problem that I have, but to see it from the outside and try to provide like examples, or provide like some content that might extrapolate to new products and new ideas. And after all, this is what I did in the past, right? At the end, I think innovation comes also from seeing examples or being influenced by other solutions. So this is what we try to do in ProductizeML. Just offer like some tools, some resources, so new products can benefit from it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, it's a great way of doing it, and it is also, I feel like it's very versatile. Like you can get anyone on board with this. It's not like you need to go and try and get the CFO to buy a big product so that your team can work more efficiently. It's like you can just use it as a grassroots, and people that hopefully, like what I hope for is that people that are on this call and people that are watching this later on in the future, they see this and maybe they've been having trouble at their company, their current company. Maybe they're a lone wolf in their company and they are trying to have people understand what is it they are actually doing, and they can show their colleagues this, and it will help everyone get on the same page. And so I think you've done a great job at that. I want to ask one more question on the content of it, because there's a cool question that just came through in the chat, and it was back when you were working on your like the skin lesions. If you were training your data sets with different colored skin, and how that worked, and also because it's like there's generally a training on lighter skin, and so you get a bit of a bias, and that kind of goes into the question that I wanted to ask around your in productize ML. There's nothing about like really ethics in there. Do you feel like you want to put that in there later?
Yeah, that's definitely like a really good question regarding like the way that we were training the skin lesion classifier. We were trying to sample from different like skin tones, uh, but it's true that there is like a lack of data, like availability, right, for some skin tones. So some of the methods that we were using to this is something that we touch on during the course is the fact of data augmentation, right? Just to enlarge those classes that you lack from images in this case. So we try to expand those skin images with darker skin tone, for example, through those methods. And regarding like the ethics in the course, this is actually where I see like more AI products trying to integrate these aspects. So we should definitely add like a section. We don't have any right now, but we
It's
should.
coming.
It's coming.
It's in the mail. Well,
Yeah, that's also something, Demetrius, that the course it's quite hard like to cover like
oh, I
all
believe
what's
it.
going on, right? We are seeing, for example, right now like transformers that they are aiming like to take on convolutional neural networks for visual classification, not just for text classification. But so this content will be extended and over time, and hopefully the community will help also to make it like happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I think that's a perfect segue into another question that I had. Like, is there a way that people can get involved and participate in this? Because as far as I know, it's like it's an open collective right now, right?
Yeah, that was one of the objectives when I started like this project. I think you probably know this with the MLOps community, that there is like a huge number of people with really talented people that are willing to contribute, and the same way that at some point we have borrowed some of this knowledge from Stack Overflow, for example, and forums like this. At some point, I think we have to contribute back to the community. The best way that I thought was through this platform, and I chose the tool that is built with its Gitbooks, and this platform basically works under the Git methodologies. So it's linked to like a GitHub repo, and anyone can actually open like a PR with changes on the content. And that's the way that I see like external contributors to contribute to the existing content.
Yeah, that's another awesome way of doing it, because like you said, there's so many smart people out there and they've probably got some of their wisdom to share. And so I encourage anyone that is out there watching and maybe you have some extra parts that you want to throw on there. Yeah, PRs are welcome. That's very cool. There's a quick question in the chat coming from Ron about how these models are actually packaged for production. I imagine he's talking about the skin lesion models that you were working on. Were you using Docker container with Flask, RESTful service, Python, Pickle, files, DLL, TensorFlow Lite, TensorFlow serving? Am I correct in saying, Ron, you'll tell us in the chat if it was for the skin lesion models, or are you talking about? Yeah, he says yeah.
Yeah, so so the way that we were working in this company, the data scientists were training those models using Keras. We were converting those models into TensorFlow, and we were using the TensorFlow serving to create the Docker images that we were hosting in the cloud. And then we were using Kubernetes to bring those models into productions in the form of an API that we were using in the front end.
So one thing that jumps out at me as you explain that, and as I look at, productionize ML again, is going through the higher level like that, being able to explain something like that at a very high level is so useful. And then really nailing down and getting into the nitty gritty, I think, is there a plan to go like super deep and talk about things in a lot of detail for the course? Or is that something that you want to just stay high level so it can be something for everyone?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've tried to keep like this high level just to prioritize based on the each of the lectures were contributing to actually like create like products. So what is the impact that these technologies or these methodologies that I'm teaching in this course are having on the industry and on the society? So it's all matter of prioritizing things. We will obviously like extend this content over time. And not only that, but I think a really important point too is to offer like hands-on experiences, right? Something that it can complement the theory. And this is something that we will be releasing really soon. I call it a catalog. And this catalog will include just examples that you can download. It's like an end-to-end ML lifecycle for like a specific task and product. We will start. We have like a one of these catalog items will be like an urban sound classifier, and we have others for visual classification tasks. So with this, we try to inspire people to create some new products based on the ones that we are offering. And this is the way that we will try to expand the existing course.
Yeah, and for that, like, how can I stay informed? I think you guys have you have like a Slack community, or is it Discord? I can't remember.
Yeah, we have a server on Discord that where we keep everyone like updated with the as soon as we update like a section or we add like a new lecture on the course, we will keep everyone updated there. We also have like a Twitter account, and for now you can also sign up in our newsletter that we will try to send like updates every month with this content, as well as with these cataloged items that I was telling you before.
Mm-hmm. So nice. So as you look forward and you're thinking about what's coming next, I mean, you talked to us about the hands-on stuff. Is there anything else that you want to bring to the website and the Git book? And is it just more collaboration with outside sources, or do you have anything else up your sleeve?
Yeah, so we're trying to also reach like other collaborators, people that are really interested on educational technologies and machine learning as well. So if you're definitely one of those, please reach me out. And this is something extending like the team. Right now, I'm working with some internal like contributors that I'm really thankful to be working with them. They're really talented people and experience, from software engineering to product managers and ML engineers that are helping me with this content. So as I was saying, the ProductizeML Catalog, I see like a lot of really good examples, always trying to follow this line of not building solutions, but building tools or examples that people can take as inspiration. Yeah.
Hmm. And do you feel like it'll ever get to the point where you're going to be talking about certain tools, or are you going to try to stay away from that?
Hmm. I think it's pretty hard without like a really deep knowledge of the problem that you're trying to solve.
Hmm.
Depending on the data structure that you're working with, I think it's pretty hard, right, to automate the tools uh, that someone would use to create like a product. But instead, as I said, I think uh, humans work really well on getting inspired by things. That's going back to where we started this conversation from, with the idea of ImagiNet and moving this idea of general uh, visual classification tasks to more like a specific for Skin Lesions classification. That's where we are aiming to with this catalog.
And as far as like people that you want to see get the most value from this, is it somebody that is at a huge enterprise, or is it someone like when I look at it, I look at it as someone at a startup that has a team and they're not really functioning that well. There's maybe a little bit of dysfunctional team dynamics, and this can help everyone get on the same page, as I mentioned earlier. Is that the same vision that you have, or are you looking at it as more of something for everyone?
Yeah, so the two main audiences I think that we are trying to target here is teams coming from startups or even like big corporations, but also to like individual contributors. Here, there is like the point of the pricing, for example, of the course. I really want this course to promote the creation of new products, and I was thinking that most of the individual contributors they cannot like really afford like some of the prices that some educational courses are out there, right? But still, these are really important like contributors. I'm not sure how many, if you have done some statistics about the MLOps community, if they're like purely like individuals or like they belong to big corporations. But my point is that even like small communities like of individual contributors, they have we need to empower them, right, to with these tools and resources to really make something out of it. And that's why I'll try always to keep this course free. And also there is another reason for which that there is this concept of public interest technology tool for which we try to promote like technology on society and offer like this knowledge to even like people that doesn't want to build like products or that purely just wants to understand what AI can really do and try to uncover this wrong label that we sometimes put on AI about like a black box, how Netflix, for example, recommendation systems work, or how Pinterest is suggesting us like pretty like visually similar images through like image retrieval systems, or even like when we see some of the deep fakes from Trump, or how do these like generative adversarial networks work, right? So these are the three main audiences that I see this course like targeting.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think we should talk for a minute about that. Like right now, it's totally free, right? And you want to keep this free, but you want to have more built on it. And do you see it as being like certificates at some point where it gets more specific and then you can get certificates from it? How do you envision that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I see productize ML like dividing the efforts between like the course that I as I said, it will always be free. Well, we obviously accept some donations through Buy Me a Coffee. That's a beautiful platform that I suggest everyone to check out. And the other thing is the other front that ProductizeML wants to focus on is the catalog, for which I think we will start like setting some prices for this catalog of different tasks and examples of tools and products, so we can maintain like both businesses.
Nice. And I'm seeing another question coming up here in the chat, and it's a bit more specific question about how you know when your ML model needs a new updated model. How do you know once your productionized model needs to be updated?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I would say it depends on the domain that you're trying to use your model. The first steps sometimes just you're just a you just have access like a limited like coverage of the real domain that ideally your product should work really well on. and And one of the aspects that having a system in production, the company can benefit from is the concept of data flywheeling. And this basically resonates around the idea of by the time that you start deploying your services, you're not exclusively making predictions, but you're also collecting data from your users. So here comes the point of that you're actually sampling from the domain that you want to predict, right? And here is the point that as soon as you label this new data that you're sampling and collecting from your users, that's the point I think that you should be retraining your model so it can get more accurate on the final objective that it's to solve those real cases.
Yeah, and you mentioned something here in the website about really like knowing also the KPIs and what these KPIs are and what you're really shooting for. What's the model trying to do? Don't like ever forget that higher level. So as you look forward, and it looks like we're kind of running out of time here, the whole idea around productionizing your machine learning, when you're looking forward into for the next year, we'll try and say, or even less than that, the next 6 years, how do you feel like things are evolving? Because like you mentioned before, it's going so fast and it's at a speed that things are happening so quickly. Where do you foresee things going, and some like updates that you're going to need to make with the course, or just some bets that you're taking that you hope it will go one way or another?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you raised this question of adding some ethics on the course. So definitely that's going to be like some of the priorities to add in the course. Things like offer like a less biased, for example, AI products. We have mentioned the skin tone like aspect of the skin classifier, and other ethical sites. For example, there is this company that's called you.com that was it was founded by Richard Sucher, who is like a former chief data scientist at Salesforce. Anyways, the idea is to come up with products. This is like a searching engine that tries to be less biased, that doesn't only respect your privacy but also your values, right? So I see ProductizeML like offering some of these lectures too. Another aspect or another lecture that I would like to see, it's like more topics regarding like explainability of machine learning, right? Trying to move on from the idea of a black box. Um, yeah.
Yep.
And sorry, I was going to say also like to touch on other industries, for example, like healthcare and finance. I see like a lot of power and many new AI products I think will follow those lines.
Yeah, and it begs the question for me, like, do you ever see what you do with the educational being more like vertical specific? Do you feel like you're going to be having educational productize ML for healthcare industry or for fintech and for these different areas, because it is a little bit different once you go into each one of these there's nuances, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea or way to see it. Maybe each of the lectures, as you said, they should be like more focused on each of the domains, because data will look like completely different from one domain or one industry to the others. So as soon as we get we expand like the team, I do see this like getting more going deeper on the each of the lectures and being more specific.
Yeah. Well, you've done great work so far. I'm excited to see what you create next. Anyone out there who has anything that they want to add, create a PR, because it's an awesome resource. I threw it in the chat, and if you're listening from the future, you can check it out in the description below. I want to say thanks, Adri. This was cojonudo.
Thank you, Demetrius, for for organizing these meetups. You have like a beautiful community out there, so that's amazing.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thanks again, and everyone check out ProductizeML right now. Get your whole team on it. Tell your PM, tell your data engineers, tell everybody about it, because I think it's a great thing that you're doing. And we'll be back. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you, Adri. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Bye bye.